we're going to have so much fun making this necklace. So what I have in front of me is some C-long cord, and I'm going to use this beautiful pewter cord with these great crystal 6mm round beads to make a somewhat classic necklace. We're doing a pearl necklace technique where you hand knot between each bead, and it just is going to look stunning. It's going to add a little element to the crystals, and once I finish it, we're going to make a rather long necklace. We're going to make a beautiful tassel out of this same cord, and we're going to hang that on the necklace with these jump rings. And then I've got a clasp for the necklace. Now you could do this without a clasp if you wanted to just make it go all the way around, but I've decided to use a clasp on this. And this one's a magnetic clasp. It does come apart, but for now I'm just going to leave it together because I just need to kind of start it on one end and make a knot. So I could show you though that this is 2 pieces and it's just got a really strong clamp on it. So what I'm going to do to start this is just make a simple knot on the end with my cord onto that magnet. You see that? I'm going to make an overhand knot, and I'm just going to reverse my thread and come back and make it knot the second time around. Now I have some crimp covers that I'm going to use here. So I need to save a little room in here. So I did try to make sure the knot was loose enough around my magnet that there's just a tiny gap and then a way to get that crimp around it. So now that I've got the knot in here, and before I cover it up, I'm going to secure it with a little bit of glue. I'm using E6000. This stuff is really strong. It's great for jewelry making. So I'm just going to take it, and I can either try and dab it straight from the tube, but it's a little bit delicate work, so I'm just going to come in, I'm going to get some out of here on a pin. I'm just kind of digging down because I've opened this tube before and I want some good glue, and I don't want the stuff that's up by the top. This pin, by the way, it's generally sacrificial. I'll probably just toss it when I'm done. So just kind of, I forgot to warn you too, with this magnetic clasp, it sticks to everything. So as you're working and trying to put things like glue onto it, it's helpful if you just kind of hold them apart a little bit. And I'm just trying to get some of that glue around my knot. And like I said, this glue's been open before. It's a little bit globby, isn't it? But there's some down here on the needle that's not. That's where I was digging deep. So we'll toss that pin. And while I've got my 2 strings attached here, I'm just going to grab that crimp and I'm just going to feed it onto my string and get my knot right inside of it. Okay, so I've got my crimp, and this is tiny, delicate work, kind of the tricky part, but once we get through this, we're going to be on to beading, and it's so fun. So get your crimp around here, and then you're going to grab your little alligator jaw pliers and just get, again, magnet's going to stick to everything on me, but get it on either side and just kind of slowly squeeze that together. And you'll see it come right around that knot. That's what you're looking for. And close it on up. Just take your time so it looks nice and finished. And once you've got that dialed in, got that a little bit crooked, whoops. This can get a little fussy, not to worry. Just a little crooked, so I'm just using my pliers to kind of even everything out. Ease it down, and that looks good. Okay, so we've got our little ball there covering up our knot. Now this extra string that I have, I'm just going to snip that off. We're done with it. Okay, now we're ready to begin. So I never even detached this from our line yet, because I didn't need to yet, but now I do. I need to get us enough string to make our necklace. Now I want way more than enough, so I'm literally going to stretch my arms all the way out twice and that should be in plenty, but you want way more than you think because those knots do take up a lot of that cord. Clip that off. And it sounds like a lot of cord, but you're just, when you're working with it, once you get about halfway through, it's going to feel like you don't have enough. But you don't even need a needle. You have nice firm cord. Just feed it through your first bead. So you just take your cord, wrap it around your first 2 fingers, bring it from underneath and bring it through. So basically you're making an overhand knot. Leave it on your fingers. This is where the tweezers come in. Now you're going to bring your tweezers in here, inside your loop, come and grab the top of that right over the bead. Then just take your cord and pull straight up, keeping that loop over the tweezer. Bring it in tight, tighter than you think. Take your tweezer out of that, and then just take your tweezers back on the rope and squeeze it down. And you just made your first knot nice and snug right next to your bead, and now you're ready to just repeat that. And you're literally just going to repeat that until you put on as many beads and make this as long as you want. So go find the beginning of your cord. Again, it's out there. It feels like it's a mile away. String up your second bead. I'll do this about 3 times, and then I'm just going to do this off camera so I don't bore you to tears. But it's just you can sit and do this in an evening. You can watch a TV show and just be nodding away, and it's so fun and it makes such a beautiful result. So here we go again. I'm going to zoom in. I've got my bead here in my hand. Wrap the cord around my fingers. Bring it up from underneath all of that cord. I've made my overhand knot. I take my tweezers, I bring them inside that loop, and I grab the top of my cord, and I just bring that cord straight up, make a nice solid knot, take my tweezer out of that, and then I bring it back on the line, and then I just pull up and tighten the knot. And just bring it right down on there. Okay, welcome back. So we've got all of our beads strung. I ended up putting 120 beads on here, the 6mm crystals, and I wanted specifically to have an even number because ultimately I'm adding an embellishment in the center of this. In fact, I've even thrown a jump ring on here just to mark my center. But I want to have a tassel hanging from here. And when it does hang, I want it to hang in between 2 beads, not on top of a single bead. So I just did that for the sake of being even. So I've got my tail end of my cord still attached, and I have taken off the half of the magnet clasp that I'm using this time, and it's sitting right here, and I have my crimp bead. So what I need to do is tie this on to the end. I'm just going to string this through, and I just need to make another double overhand knot. So we'll go ahead and bring this through. Now it's always a little trickier here because we have to snug it up tight. So let's get that knot down where we need it. Just take your time. Make sure you get it right on top of the bead, right real close. We don't want a gap. There we go. But I need to put a double knot on that. So I'm just going to come around again. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing very clearly, but I'm just making a secondary knot over that. Kind of holding everything tight down here so the knot just, whoops, let's try that again. Kind of holding everything tight so the knot just stays onto itself. That one slipped over the top of the bead. It wasn't going to work like that. Okay, so just bring that down tight. Got my nice little double knot on there. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to leave that string attached for now. I'm going to add a little touch of glue. And then I'll put that crimp right over the top of the knot. And I don't worry about the glue being wet, it'll dry underneath there. Again, that's that E6000. You can see I had a spare little tiny bit of crystals left over. Just kind of mush that around there. I don't mind that it stays a little loaded up. It's going to get squished in with the crimp and it'll kind of work itself around all of that. Okay, so you're going to now have to fit that crimp over everything. I find that just leaving it on the pad here and pushing everything kind of on top of it was easiest. And work that around so the crimp's in the right position. Then grab your alligator claw here, your pliers, and just get around both sides of that with that fun little magnet trying to grab on the whole time. There we go. Make sure you lined up nicely and it'll close better for you. Go ahead and start to close that around just gently and just take your time here and do it right. These tend to like to go sideways on you if you let them, so you really want to make sure you're lined up nicely. That looks pretty good. Squeeze that down and close so it looks like just like a nice little round silver bead at the end. There we go. Okay, so that's all done and secured. So we can snip that little string out of the way. Why waste? Okay, so this is all ready. So now we just need to make our embellishment. So for that, I have this in my knitting kit, of all things, and it makes a really awesome tassel. It's called a pom-pom magic. It's a pom-pom maker. It's when you wrap yarn around this several times, and you come in and tie it in the middle, and then it actually has nice little grooves here to come through and cut the yarn, and then it makes one of those little poofy balls. But tassels are made the same way. So we're just going to take our cord, and I like that I have two options here on size, but I want a rather long, elongated tassel. So this is the side I'm going to use. And I'm just going to hold my string here on the back, and I'm just going to let this be beyond my hang down, basically. And I'm just going to wrap. And I can wrap as much or as little as I want. I want, you know, a moderate sized pom-pom. My string is just, whoops, rolling around here on me. So when you think you have enough on there, and I don't think that's quite enough yet, but we're getting there. Keep that tail out of the way. Okay, I think I probably should stop there and quit while I'm ahead so that that jump ring still is gonna fit on here. So I've just cut it off. Now I'm going to come in here with that spare string, and for a second here I'm just going to make a little temporary knot on this because I want to get that jump ring on here. There we go. So I'm just going to hold everything tight, and I'm honestly, for now, I'm just going to make a little bow. Just hang that up for a second. Oh, my tying skills here. Okay, that is a bow. So I've got this nice little groove under here. I've got a lot of string. So I'm going to take this jump ring and I'm going to open it up nice and wide. Whenever you open your jump rings, do it sideways. So I use my alligator clip on one side, and I just grabbed a secondary plier. This isn't ideal. but I just give it a twist sideways. But see, I opened it up pretty wide because I've got to get it under a lot of thread here. We'll see if it works. Make sure you get, and there's a nice groove in here, so I'll make sure I get everything in there. Yep, got it. Perfect. And now I've got to close that back down. And I have to close it back down by bringing these two sides back together, but again, it's sideways. So let me grab that side here, grab this sideways and bring them back together. And see how they meet up pretty good there? So now I've got this string here, and I'm going to use this as the string. Why not? To wrap around my center. So what I want to do is make kind of a figure 8 here first. So I'm coming into the inside, going around the back and putting that back up through here. Then I'm going back into the inside again. It's hard to keep track of this stuff. There we go. Back through the inside and around the top. So I've made kind of a figure 8 there. I'm going to make a tie. And then before I do anything else, I'm actually going to slide this off now. And this just slides right off. How easy is that? Now I'm going to tighten down my figure 8. I'm also going to move it up. That's why I didn't want to tighten it just yet, because I want it up here by the top. I want a nice long tassel. I don't want it just to be halfway. So now I'm going to tighten that down really good. I'm going to go ahead and make a second knot on here. And what's going to happen is I'm going to cover that knot up by wrapping it. Okay, so I've got just a little top kind of securing everything. It tends to slide, don't worry about that, just straighten it back out a little. And then just wrap. Make a nice little cover. Take a look, make sure you like what you're seeing. There's my string, that's the other half of this, by the way. This is the front. So that looks good. So I'm going to just bring this to the back. I'm going to tie my knot. I'm holding this tight. Tie another one of those triple overhands. So you go overhand one way, then reverse it. And then reverse it yet again. Okay, so you put that thread on a needle, just one at a time, and just tuck it through. And that will hide those ends for you. And just slide it off. We're just going to trim that in with the length of the rest of it. And then, so we're going to just come in here now and cut those ends. So the first cut you make is just cutting everything side, the loops basically. Just trim them right in the center. Then you can cut for length, and here's where the hairstylist in me comes out. Just fan those a little bit if you need to, and get those ends, and just come back with your scissor and just make a really neat end. The more lined up they are, the better it looks. Okay, so as I mentioned, they tend to flare a little bit, this C-long cord, when it comes off of the spool, but I'm going to wet this, let it dry overnight, and it'll be perfectly straight and smooth. So, got a little bit of crumbly here. So a couple things we need to do. I need to fix this jump ring and then just attach it to the top. There we go. So now that it's off of that yellow pom-pom maker, should be easier to grab these and just get them lined up properly. There we go. Make sure they're nice and secure. I don't want any threads coming out. And then I'm going to just tuck that end down into the loop here. And that's our front. Then I'm going to find my little jump ring on here, which was marked at my center. And it has stayed in place, yay. And I'm just going to bring this over my jump ring. And then I just need to bring these ends back together and with the same motion. So it's been turned sideways to open it, and I'm just going to turn it back. Best when you can come in side by side. It's just a little hard because there's not a lot of space to grab, but do your best to make sure you're just turning it sideways. And that looks like it's all centered up nice. Just make sure that's on secure because you don't want this falling off. And there you have it. So here we have our final product. We have a beautiful long beaded crystal hand-tied, hand-knotted necklace with this great tassel on the end. And as soon as I get this wet, it'll be nice and smooth. And won't that just look stunning over a long black sweater or something of that nature? I could wear this with a million things, these beautiful neutral colors and lots of sparkle. So I hope you'll try this one. This is a really fun project and anybody can do this.